Greetings viewers, if you click the video link, you're here to listen to me talk about these two flashlights. I am going to go ahead and structure this video the same way that I did the last flashlight review with the Stiletto Pro and the Olight Arc Filled. I'm going to do an unboxing for each of these, talk about them individually, and then we'll kind of bring them back together and do a little bit of a compare and contrast session. All of the events will be marked in the timestamps down below, so if there's anything in particular you're looking at for either one of these flashlights, you can just click there and it'll take you right to it. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, so here we have the Streamlight Wedge. We're going to go ahead and do a little unboxing, but before that, I'm going to show you the outside of the packaging. It does come in a little plastic case on the outside here. The sides are clear. All right, so let's go ahead and pop this open. So we're just going to undo the flaps on this clear plastic and then slide all the cardboard goodies on the inside out. It does appear that the wow, they folded the Streamlight sticker in half. This is basically 0 out of 10, so we can just stop the review right now. Horrible. Got a 50-year anniversary pamphlet here and some information on it. And then this looks like the operating instructions folded up in a nice little tiny bundle in a big fold-out, same multiple language format. So we've just now got our cardboard from the inside with all the product information on it. And then this appears to lift off. And we have our USB-C to USB-A cable. We've got a small little loop of a 550 cord that I'm not sure how we would attach that on here. We've got a small Allen wrench. I do believe that the pocket clip is reversible, so I'm sure that's what that's for. And then we just have our light. Wow, this is super light. This seems really long. I feel like this might be longer than the Nightcore light. It does have a very simple operation. It just has one switch on here that you click forward to turn on, and that's it. You get off, on, and then you press it from its staying on position for a temporary burst of brighter light. But when you let go, it springs back to just the normal on position. It looks like the pocket clip is reversible just on the same side only, so it will always be bezel end down. The USB-C port is on the back here. It is exposed. There is not any sort of rubber or plastic flap that covers it. This is listed as rated for IPX7, so I'm not sure how they're able to accomplish that with an exposed USB-C connector. I'm not an electronics engineer. I don't know how that works. Maybe some of you guys are smarter than I am. I didn't realize that if this was exposed that it could be waterproof, so that's cool that they did that. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing charged up, and then we'll go ahead and get into the review on it. All right, so here we have the Nightcore EDC27 still in the box. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the outside packaging before we crack into this and see what's inside. So you can see the sides of the packaging here. It says what's included. It does have a little lanyard safety wrist strap and then a USB-C cord. It's got some of its rated features on here. And the back side just kind of gives you the rundown of the unit itself with all the standard mumbo jumbo and typical made in China. There is no safety seal on the bottom here. It just has the little cardboard flaps that you pop open. So let's go ahead and crack into this thing. See what's inside. So that slides out of the box here. There's nothing left in that. We've got our little white plastic holder here with all the charging cord. It's got USB-A on one end, USB-C on the other. It does not appear to be that long of a cord, but it looks longer than the Surefire charger. Got our literature in here. We've got our lanyard safety strap, warranty card, it's got a sensor protection function available. So I guess it says that if the light detects that the light, if it's blocked. So for example, if it's in your pocket and it gets turned on, it's supposed to help keep you from burning yourself or lighting your clothes on fire, I guess. And then we've got our instruction manual here. That's a quite a large fold-out pamphlet here that's going to give us all of our instructions in basically every language known to man. And then we've got the flashlight itself. This is kind of a long boy here. It is slightly hefty, but actually it's a lot lighter than I would assume looking at it and feeling some of the other EDC lights and how they feel. It does have the little flappy door here for the charging port, which again I'm not a fan of. We'll just see longevity-wise how long that lasts. It does have two lights on the end. Traditionally all we've seen are one. I do like this kind of knurling in these four spots right here, so that is kind of nice. However, there is no thumb access button anywhere towards the front here. It is all tail cap utilized, which is nice, but sometimes you like having that option of being able to hold it in a different grip position. This is the little LED screen here. So I am just going to go ahead and get this thing charged up before I dive into it. I don't want to start pressing buttons and burn up the battery before I've had even a chance to charge it, so let's get that done. All right, so let us take a look at the Streamlight Wedge. This flashlight is very simple to operate. Even somebody that has no idea what's going on, you can hand it to them and they can figure it out pretty quickly. This one in particular is in the Coyote Tan color. For whatever reason, it was $10 cheaper on Amazon than the black version, so I went ahead and grabbed it. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is, I believe it's anodized. This is not some kind of finish that's going to chip or break off of here, which is nice. I thought the Arcfeld light was anodized until I saw the stuff coming off. That's not the case here. It does have a pocket clip that is reversible, but it's only on the one end, so the flashlight portion has to go basically down in your pocket if that's where you're carrying it. That does, again, eliminate the ability for you to use it. If you were to try to clip this on a ball cap or something, you wouldn't be able to do that to use it as a headlamp. Also, the fact that this is the longest flashlight out of all of the ones I reviewed, including the Nightcore that we're going to take a look at. It probably wouldn't fit very well doing that anyway, so that doesn't really matter in that situation. So there's a little bit of knurling here for grip. Works great either way, whether you're using it left-handed or right-handed. You still have plenty of room to get to this with your thumb. This flashlight, it does only have two modes. Well, technically three. It has off, which it's in right now. When we turn this on and it stays on, this is 300 lumens. And in order to access the 1000 lumens, you press this forward temporarily. And as soon as you let it go, it springs back into the 300 lumen mode. Both of those brightness modes have worked great. I've carried this light for a while, been using it off and on here and there. Works awesome. It seems like it's just bright enough, and for the times that the normal mode is not, the 1000 lumens definitely takes care of that. So again, for charging this thing, you have a USB-C port on the bottom here that is not covered. It doesn't have one of those little rubber flaps, but even still with that as it is still IPX7 rated, which means that it can be under 30 meters of water for up to 30 minutes and have absolutely no issues with it, so that's kind of good. So when you plug this thing in, the switch on here is kind of a translucent color, and it'll glow red while it's charging, and then once it's done, it'll turn green, letting you know that it's finished and you can start using it again. All right, so let's go ahead and toss this thing on the scale. And we are looking at 3.1 ounces. It is fairly light, I think probably because it doesn't have a whole lot of features and crazy modes and programming and everything in there that they need to make room for. It's just basically a battery, a light, and a switch, which again lends to its simplicity. This is not a bad light again. So my biggest complaint that I have with this thing, and I guess my really only complaint, is the length of it. This is the longest flashlight, and several pairs of pants and shorts that I have, the pockets are either too short to even accommodate this, and instead of being able to bury it all the way to the clip, it kind of pushes it up and out. The other problem I've had is I can't really keep anything else in the pocket with it, especially my keys. So I tried carrying this in my left pocket where I carry my keys, and all I could hear and feel were the keys grinding against this thing. Again, I'm surprised that this didn't get scratched. Nothing came off. It is anodized. There's nothing wrong with the lens here. But feeling and listening to it was bothering me. I couldn't carry it there. Again, because it is long, if you're wearing like 5'11" pants that have the little backslash pocket where most people stick these kind of things, because again, the length, you are gonna kind of feel it when you're sitting down. So if you have something, like I have like the 5'11" strike pants where they've got the little pocket in the front, on the basically on the front of your thigh, or if you're going to stick it in the cargo pocket area, that's going to be your best bet for this, just because of the length. Again, it will not fit in a shirt pocket. It's going to stick up ridiculously and probably not even make full use of the clip. So again, that's the only issue I have with this. It's very simple to use. I can everybody I've handed this thing to figured it out immediately and was able to operate it. Again, this is not a bad light at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Nightcore. All right, so this is the Nightcore EDC27. This thing looks awesome. It feels great in the hand. It makes use of 2 LEDs in the front instead of all the other lights that only use 1. It's got a very long, strong pocket clip that is not reversible. You cannot swap it to either side or either end, so it is where it is. It does have a little LCD screen here. The covering on it is not glass. It is like a soft film, so if you were to push on it, you can kind of feel it buckling a little bit. It operates using 2 buttons. This flashlight is a little bit more complicated in terms of functions and use compared to the Wedge. There are 2 buttons, and these 2 buttons are basically responsible for everything on here, whether it's turning it on and off, using the turbo mode, the strobe, changing brightness settings, activating the 2 different lockout features, or deactivating them. Whatever you may need to do with this light, again, it's accomplished by these 2 buttons. So again, there is a flush button here. The only thing this is used for is for the turbo or 3000 lumen mode. And then you've got the other button here that is raised. This is the one that controls everything else, and you use to lock, unlock, change modes and brightness settings. So we'll talk about, again, the flush or turbo button. So if I press this button in halfway, it activates the 3000 lumen mode, and it pops up on the LCD screen and shows you how long you have. You've got about 30 seconds of light with that, and you can see the little progress bar counting down, and then it's going to switch back to a lower mode and not let you stay there forever. If you press and hold this all the way down to its maximum depth, it'll activate the 3000 lumen strobing mode. And we'll talk about that in a second when we get to the lockout feature. Now, it does not take very long. This is very warm already to the touch. Again, it does warn you that it gets hot. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the modes on here. I'm going to try and keep it so you can see the screen. So this button right here, the one that sticks up, is the activation button. So if I press this all the way down and let go, it's going to turn on. The screen will indicate what mode we're in. It says 15 lumens, and then it transitions to the runtime that you have left while operating in that mode. Let's bring it out here. So if I were to press this all the way down again and let go, it turns the light off. This light does also have a memory, so after doing that, every single time I turn it on and off like that, it's going to go into the last mode that was used, which is a nice feature, especially if you're having to whip this thing out and continually take a look at something in the same situation, and you don't have to keep cycling through brightness modes, which is nice. So let's go ahead and turn it back on again by pressing it all the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to press it halfway. And what that's going to do is that's going to cycle up to the 65 lumen mode, and again give us our runtime, which is going to be obviously a little bit less. We're going to press it halfway again. Now we're up into 200 lumens. Halfway again, we get our 1000 lumens. So now again, if I turn this light off and turn it back on again, we go right back into the 1000 lumen mode. So we'll bring it back down to 15, and I'm going to turn it off. So again, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you were to hand this light to somebody, they're like, hey, you got a flashlight, and you give it to them, it might take them a second. I gave this to several people, just like I did the Wedge, and watched them fumble with the buttons and press and half press and turn it on and off, and they couldn't figure it out. A couple people ended up locking out the light because they were trying to figure it out. So we'll talk about the lock feature. There are 2 modes for the lock feature. It'll pop up with mode 1 and mode 2 with the little lock symbol. So mode 1, all that does is it locks out your normal function mode. So this raised button and any of those adjustable brightness settings will be deactivated. If you hit the button while it's in that mode, it'll pop up with a 1 and the lock symbol saying, no, it's locked. The purpose of that is to allow just the 3000 lumen mode to be used. I was a little bit confused about this at first, and then I realized that some people may be carrying this in their pocket as more of a I don't want to say defensive, but I don't really know what other term to use. So instead of using a taser, stun gun, something less lethal than a firearm, they just want to shine this in the face of a potential attacker in the middle of the night that's trying to mug them or something. They have access to pull this out, grab the light, even if it's in lockout mode 1, just smash the button as hard as you can and just strobe them in the face. I get it. Personally, I wouldn't use that, but there are people that would. They might find that feature convenient. Lockout mode 2 on this locks out everything. So no matter what button you press, it's going to pop up and say, you're not getting in, it's locked. So in order to lock this thing, we're going to use the raised or normal function power button. We're going to turn the light on, and then I'm going to press and just continue to hold this button. You'll see the lock 1 pop up, and I'm going to let go real quick, because if I keep holding it, it's going to jump to mode 2. So again, now if I press the main power button, it just pops up with a lock and says we're in mode 1. However, I still have access to the 3000 lumen mode, whether it's the strobing or the constant on. So in order to unlock it, I have to press and then hold, and you'll see a little key and a progress bar pop up, and then it'll turn back on. So now if I want to lock this thing out to mode 2, I'm going to press and hold. You're going to see 1, 2, and then let go. Now, no matter what button I press on here, it's going to continue to pop up with the number 2 lock. So that way, if it's in your pocket and it gets bumped around, it's not going to activate, which I believe would be the reason why this is flush. So if you have it in lockout mode 1, this is more likely to get bumped while you're shuffling around or doing your daily activities, and you don't, again, want this turning on in your pocket, but you do want access to that 3000 lumen mode so you can pull it out and shine it in somebody's face as needed. All right, so in order to unlock this thing as it sits where it's off, I'm going to press once to get it to come on, and then I'm going to press and hold. You see the progress bar pop up, the key symbol, and then it unlocks and turns on when it does so. So let's go ahead and toss this thing on the scale. So it's weighing in at 4.4 ounces, so a little bit heftier than the Streamlight, which again is probably going to be due to all the other electronics and the extra stuff in here that gives it all its programming modes and lockouts and extra fancy features that the Streamlight itself doesn't have. Now, if I had to tell you my biggest gripe with this light is that it is not waterproof. Unless you're familiar with or look up what all the different ratings are, this thing is IP54 rated. Now, if we look that up, all that means is that it is resistant to kind of dust and splashing of water. That's kind of a big problem for me. This flashlight is amazing, and I can tell you right now as we sit here, if this thing was IPX7 or some other form of actual waterproofness, I would say don't buy any other flashlight but this one. This thing has everything you absolutely need, from all the individual brightness settings, the different lockout modes. You have the option of the 3000 lumen and the strobe, the weight, the flatness of it. This thing is awesome, and I love this light, except for that fact that it's not waterproof, and that bothers me a bit because this is an EDC light. So everyday carry, I'm supposed to have this with me all day, every day. What are the chances that I'm going to get rained on at some point, somewhere, where I get hit with a surprise shower? This thing is sticking out of my pocket. The most important electronic components, which would be the buttons and access to the whole light, are sticking out. I get rained on, and now this thing is useless. And that's a problem for me. So if I was rating this thing on a scale of 1 to 100, I would already knock 20 points off just for it not being waterproof. As an EDC light, it should be waterproof. I'm sorry, but if even Olight can make the arc felt waterproof, there's no reason that you can't put some extra gaskets or something inside of this light to accomplish that mission. And then I would probably have a couple of these stashed all over the place. So again, that's just my main gripe with this light. So when you plug this thing in to charge it, again, it's got the USB-C door that is covered here. I don't know what the point is in covering it if it's not waterproof with that on there, but you know, whatever. It'll pop up and it'll let you know what the battery life is. So that's another good use of this LCD screen on here. So not just the mode that you're in and the time that's remaining that you can be in that mode, but it also tells you your battery level and where you're at. So even if you just want to know, you can plug it in real quick, and instead of just having a green or a red light, it'll specifically tell you, hey, this is how much battery life you have left. So you could just use that as an indication and be like, nah, it's good enough, I don't want to charge it just yet, and then unplug it again. So that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and get these two back side by side, and we'll kind of talk about them a little bit and do a compare and contrast. All right, so here we are back looking at both of these together. So the first thing I want to address, and I kind of already alluded to and mentioned, was the length of these flashlights. So I'm just going to bring these old contenders back in just so you can get a visual specifically of how long these lights are. So like I said, the Streamlight is the longest one, even taking into account the button for the Nightcore sticking out. If we were to hold these side by side lined up with that, the Wedge still comes out on top in length. So it's almost 5.5 inches, so about average for the length of a normal flashlight. We've already compared the weight. So again, like I said, these are, it's interesting comparing these two because you have probably the simplest EDC flashlight in terms of operation with 2 different modes that you can turn on versus one that has a whole bevy of features and different buttons and programming and lockout and all that extra stuff. Both of these are great flashlights. I've been carrying them for a couple months off and on. I've just alternated taking each one. The battery life is approximately as indicated. These are not years old and have not gone through hundreds of charging cycles, so obviously that could change over time with just the lifespan of the battery wearing down and you not getting as much life out of them per charge. So I like that the Wedge is nice and slim, but again, the length of it is an issue for me in terms of basically limiting where I can carry it and it interfering with stuff in my pocket. The Nightcore has sort of the same issue. It's almost as long as the Streamlight, so I tried to carry it in alternate locations as well, or at least in a pocket that did not have anything else with it, so then there were no issues with it rubbing against stuff or the items in my pocket trying to push the flashlights out. Now, if you look at the carry clip for the Nightcore, it is much wider and longer than the Streamlight. So again, you can put it deeper in your pockets or attach it to Molly gear and it will actually grab onto 2 of the loops and hold on to it a lot better. I have worn this on the front of a vest with Molly attachments and it never even moved or slid up and down. I did the same thing with the Streamlight, and obviously if there's one loop in here, it does have room to slide up and down and move, but I never had any issues with either of these falling off of any of my gear or coming out of my pocket. So as I mentioned, I am quite disappointed that the Nightcore is not waterproof. I, again, did not have any idea what IP54 meant until I Googled it, and that's a big disappointment for me. And I really like this flashlight. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. I really like the features that are on it. And I am just absolutely devastated that this is not waterproof. If I go to somebody's house and they're being a jerk and I end up in a pool and this flashlight gets ruined, you know, my phone will be fine, but the flashlight's ruined. And that seems a little bit odd to me, especially something that's designated as an everyday carry tool. If you're running around in the apocalypse and you need a flashlight and it sprinkles outside and your flashlight doesn't work anymore, that's a problem. I don't like that at all. Also, the simplicity of using it, you are going to, again, have to find some kind of guide like what I showed you where all the features are, or you're going to have to read the manual and mess with it, and over time you'll get the hang of it. Even still, after using it for a little while, eventually or occasionally you will accidentally half click instead of fully click, and then you change the mode instead of turning it off, or you're trying to change the mode and you turn it off instead, and then you got to turn it back on. So it does take, again, a little bit of time messing with it and having it in your rotation to get the button presses down and figure out the modes and lockouts and everything else. But overall, it is an excellent flashlight minus that not waterproof flaw. That's a huge fail for me, and I'm very disappointed in that. So let's go ahead and take a look at these lights in terms of going outside where it's pitch black and what it's going to look like in each of the different lighting modes, as well as inside the house where we've got kind of a room, a white wall reflecting the light at us, and then looking down a long hallway. And we'll take a look at each one of the brightness modes in that aspect. All right, so quite a bit of variation there in the light levels. Again, the Streamlight only has 2 options. For the purposes that I've needed it for, I have not found it to be lacking, but I do much appreciate the various options. So again, having 15 lumens on a flashlight seems kind of dumb, but you can use that for navigating, especially if you're in a completely blacked out location, or just at least to signal maybe to other people and let them know you're there without having a giant bright 3,000 lumen beam blasting everybody in the face. So again, it is nice to have variety, so the fact that it's there is great. I don't think either one of these flashlights is a piece of garbage in in terms of these two or the other two in comparison that we've reviewed. Every single one of them is a winner. They all have their ups and downs. Again, if the Nightcore was waterproof, I would say hands down it's 100% the winner. Even over the Surefire Stiletto Pro, I would take the Nightcore all day long. So if they ever do fix that, I will gladly go out and buy a handful of them and keep them in, my vehicle, my bug out bag, at work, on my person at all times, and being able to take advantage of all the features. It's nice to have the features there if you need them and not use them. What you really don't want to do is pick up the Streamlight and go, you know what, this isn't bright enough, I need more, and it's not there, versus saying, yeah, I don't need 3,000 lumens, but I have it in the event that that changes. So if I did have to pick a winner from today's matchup here, I very closely give it to the Nightcore, just simply for the amount of features. Again, the look, the feel, the LCD screen, the clip, everything on this thing is amazing and great. It just feels good, it's solid. I like the texturing on the side here. That's in a great spot in terms of gripping it, whether you're holding it this way or holding it like this. You have something to hold on to and it's nice and comfortable. Just that waterproof issue is my only problem. Other than that, it's a absolutely perfect flashlight and highly recommended for your EDC kit. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that if they make any sort of revision to this flashlight, or perhaps there's already one in existence that I'm not aware of. I haven't looked it up, so maybe I'll go to their website and check that out when I'm done editing and uploading this video. But with that, I am going to go ahead and call this video here. Hopefully you found something useful, educational in your flashlight searching endeavors. Let me know if you think that I missed anything or something else important that you feel I should have covered. What are your thoughts? Do you have either one of these lights or the other two that I've reviewed, and what do you think about them after perhaps some extended year or years worth of usage? Again, I've only had these for a couple of months, so we'll continue to update, and I can come back and do a follow-up review once I've had all four of them for an extended period of time and they've gone through a couple hundred charging cycles. So with that, I am going to call the video here. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.